Welcome back, everybody. This is the Predictive Playbook, and I'm your host, John Ryan. And we have a pretty full slate of topics we're going to cover. We're going to cover them in rapid fire fashion, I would say. And we're going to start out first with the PGA Tour. And the PGA Tour right now has two different events taking place, and this happens every year. The Scottish Open at the Renaissance is taking place over in Scotland. And the John Deere Classic in Quad City, Iowa, is the tournament that's taking place for those that stay on this side of the pond. But this year, and it's been a trend for about the last 10 years, more and more of the top golfers in the world are going to the Scottish Open. I believe, actually, Phil Mickelson might have been one of the first ones to play back-to-back weeks. And it was scrutinized. It was like, what in the world? Why would you want to do that? Well, he later won it. So that then became the norm, and now a lot of guys go over there. And I don't want to say they're not trying to win, but they're trying to hone into skills. Because honestly, the Scottish Open is a very prestigious tournament to win. It's one of the 4 Rolex tournaments that are on the European Tour. So it's not a what do you call that, Rob? It's not a step over type of event that you just ignore, and it's lesser golfers. Actually, it's a pretty deep field. There's PGA Tour events that are less deep than the Scottish Open is. And Jon Rahm is playing in the Scottish Open, and we're going to take a look at some of the scores going on right now in that event. Now, remember, they teed off at 2 a.m., and next week is the British Open, and yeah, I have to wake up an hour earlier to watch that. But that's fun. You wake up that early and watch the just the lifestyle of the local people, the people that are there. They're just such astute golf fans, and after all, St. Andrews is where golf was born. So it's no better place to be playing. So now I'm looking for my feed here, which is over here for the Scottish Open. And here's the leaderboard. Jack Sr., a name that is not heard very much. His world golf ranking is 353rd. He has the lead, -7, shot a 64. Justin Thomas is 1 shot back. His golf rating has a 3 in it, but it's just 3. As opposed to Jack Sr., who has 353. Justin Thomas is the 3rd ranked golfer in the world. Lee Westwood ranked 28th in the world. He's also tied with Justin Thomas, shot a 65. Jon Rahm, right there again, number 1 in the world, and number 1 in the world by an increasing margin. He shot a 5 under 66 today, along with that veteran cagey Ian Poulter, who won the British Open not too long ago in a really incredible shootout with Phil Mickelson, who came in second in another major that he came in second in. But I remember that round, Rob. Ian Poulter, I think, shot 63 or 64, and Phil was 1 shot behind him. And it was reminiscent of when Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson went head-to-head at St. Andrews in an event that they ran away with, and was an event that Jack came in second place. And what people don't realize is he won 18 majors. He also came in second in 18 more majors. So that number could have been unattainable for the rest of mankind. Ryan Palmer, another guy that doesn't make real waves in the PGA Tour, but is steady Eddie. I don't like that word for him, but he is about as steady as they get. He shot 66. Guy named Coetzee, who's been rising on the world golf rankings, now 110th. And rising pretty rapidly, I might add. That might be a guy to watch next week in the British Open for fantasy. Tommy Fleetwood shot 5 under. Matt Fitzpatrick, who we mentioned yesterday, 5 under. And then, let's see. Everybody should be done here. Who was that guy that Tony Finn said was going to do so well?
Terrell somebody.
Terrell Hatton.
Yeah,
and he is a very good player. Don't get me wrong. He's a guy that could win any single week. Anytime he goes out in the course, he could win. But I'm looking for Morikawa because that was kind of our bet, if I remember right. And I'm going further and further down the list here. Boy, oh boy. Here's Terrell Hatton. He shot a 269. And he's the 10th best golfer in the world, according to the World Golf Rankings.
Wow.
Yeah. And then he obviously is ahead of my guy. McIlroy shot 1 under. That was an even 70. And Morikawa, I know, teed off late. Probably was about 8 o'clock our time. Where the heck is he? It's never good when you pick a guy to win and you have to keep scrolling down. There's Henrik Stenson +1. Martin Keimer, who's... What's that?
The good news is Zach Wheeler only struck out 6, so you only have to give 6 strokes.
Yeah, that first inning was crazy. You just you do your homework and then you just never see that coming.
Yeah, well, that's so true. That's so true.
I'm going to do an F5 here because I can't find them. And there's a ton of golfers in this thing. Morikawa. All right. Now he shot 1 under. And Terrell Hatton was what? 1 under? He was also 1 under? Or 2? Terrell Hatton. So Morikawa, that is good for. It doesn't even say what place. These leaderboards in Europe they need to look more like the USA version, in my opinion. Yeah, I think Terrell Hatton is ahead of him. Yeah, he's ahead by 1 going into tomorrow. So we'll have to see what happens there, but this is going to be an example. If you like golf, you want to watch it because you're going to see this next Thursday. It'll be the same thing all over again. So that's the update there. My DraftKings lineups are doing pretty good. We can look at those later. And I generally don't even look at the lineups until we get close to the end of the second round because the goal is to get 6 golfers through the cut. It doesn't matter if you're in first place on day 1. In fact, you actually don't want that because few people do win the event leading after the first day. You want to be, in that 30,000 rank, and all your guys are on pace to make the cut. So then in the John Deere, we'll quickly gloss over that. And the leaderboard here. Ches Rivi is 7 under 64. He's tied with Camilo Villegas. So that's a veteran against a youngster in Ches. So Ryan Moore, another veteran, is up there on the leaderboard. Luke List, who he should be playing next week at the British Open. Cameron Champ, what a great name for a golfer. He hits the ball a mile, arguably further than Bryson does, but putting is his Achilles heel. It just doesn't agree with him on most occasions, but here he shot 5 under and he's tied for 4th. So good for him. The guy who won last week, Cam Davis, tied for 9th. He's 4 under. And this course, Quad Cities, is going to be playing a little bit easier, probably a lot easier than the one over there in Scotland. And Scotland, as you know, gets weather right and left. You just never know when it's going to creep up.
I feel like it's always bad weather there, I feel, every year. Rain, wind, the whole gamut. And it usually depends upon what time you have to go out into the elements. Some guys get a benefit, right? Some guys go out and it's not as bad weather-wise as it was when the early guys went out.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Rob, because it can change in like 15 minutes. It can go from 70 degrees to 45. It's amazing, and then you have huge wind changes in both directions. It can be calm and then start blowing 30 miles an hour. It could be blowing 30 miles an hour downwind, and all of a sudden it's in your face. It's a different form of golf. And high ball hitters do not do well in the British Open for that reason. And guys that are able to hit those stinger type shots, those 3/4 runners that bore through the wind and then hit the ground and have top spin and just explode. It's like hitting a slider. Imagine a right-hander throwing a slider. Except that the mound's about 350 yards away from the plate. But we'll see what happens tomorrow with the golf.
That tournament is really designed for in-game. In-game is perfect for that.
You're absolutely right, Rob.
See what the weather is and bet accordingly. But I know, the only reason I know that is from past years hearing, golfers, I don't want to say they complain, but maybe the analysts will tell you that, tee time is everything at St. Andrews. When are you going out?
Yep.
And what is the weather when you go out, and the guy who goes out 5 hours behind you might have it so much easier or worse, vice versa, either way. But that's the extent of my St. Andrews knowledge.
Yeah, but that's enough. That makes you armed and dangerous already. And it's usually the guys who get out in the morning, but then they reverse the order on Friday. And they do that for every single event. So it's not just the British Open, but the hope is that it evens it out if the weather is really bad in the afternoon with the winds. That everybody has to play in the good condition, everybody has to play in the really bad, tough conditions.
Right.
What else was I going to show? Here's our what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go. We did the Scottish Open. Now we're going to do free picks, Cincinnati, Milwaukee. I thought would be a good one to break down. They're both tonight. Washington and San Diego. Do that for about 22 minutes. And then our takeaways from Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Player props till 4:45. And then, who's this? John Ryan. Oh, yeah, there's a viewer-only promo code that we have to give out. You have to remind me to do that. And so it's a total tonight on the game. And we also have a NBA angle that was presented already on the WagerTalk NBA tip-off show, which is, that show's favorite. I like that show better than mine. It is really good. You could watch that show and not even know a thing about basketball and hear Ranieri's laugh, and you'd start laughing. Even if you didn't know what he was laughing at.
Well, and he has fun every show he does, but that crew in particular, the four of us, because we've been together for quite a while now.
Yep.
Doing that one, he really is good. Him and Tony Finn have a little back and forth always. We have a little back and forth with Ski and myself, so it's pretty good. When Steve Merrill's on, Joe gets a little back and forth with Steve too, so it's good. It's good. But the most important thing is that we're trying to give people pretty good info on what's going to happen here tonight, and hopefully
it's great.
We pick up some winners along the way. And as you mentioned, the angle was presented on that show, so I've already seen it, but I'll see it twice. Yeah, and it's an interesting one. It's a little bit different. Now, I actually was in the chat room, and my timing, I guess, I even said in the chat room, my timing couldn't have been worse because I thought my angle had already been presented. Because, there's some back and forth with the NBA angle today, except that I don't have any fourth part of that back and forth. It's more back, which is all funny. I love it. Right. But I thought today with that, ratio of field goal or free throws made versus field goal attempts, which is drilling down a little bit, was going to get Joe's attention and go, what? What? But he didn't. I think he got exactly what it meant. But let's start with the introduction to the baseball here. We can switch it up though if you want to do the NBA now. Seems like we're on the NBA topic. We go in whatever order you want, buddy.
Let's do the NBA top. Let's do it now. Right. So we all know Game 1 was won by the Phoenix Suns. It seemed like the Bucks were playing pretty close with them, trailing by 3 with about a minute and a half to go, and then Much like the Montreal Canadiens, the Bucks fell asleep on defense a little bit too much, and all of a sudden Phoenix has a 9-point lead and really never recovered. But I do think the market's telling us tonight, and you guys talked about it on the show, that the market is saying that Milwaukee's going to make this a much, much closer game. And whether they do or not remains to be seen. But I do think if they make it a game, they're probably going to win it. And people forget, and we remind ourselves all the time, Rob, Milwaukee is the fastest paced team in the regular season. They also can play a pretty slow game too. And if there was ever a game like Joel Embiid of the 76ers where he should stay in the paint for the entire game and just look for the ball to be given to him in the post, it's tonight. And I would think, over prop bets that Tony Finn had on WagerTalk had to include Giannis and a lot of other Bucks players. I would think Middleton and or Holiday would be great ones for points and assists if that actually comes to pass with Giannis getting the bulk of the feeds. But what's your initial take on this matchup tonight? Because I know for a lot of people it's a pretty hard one to see, and you're one of the best at breaking down the games, and that whatever you have to say about it, I'm sure is going to help a lot of the people in the chat room that are interested to know.
Yeah, Tony, real quick, John. Tony had, as folks who watch us at 4 o'clock every day, and in particular Tony, you'll know that he's got some direct lines to beat reporters, and on the show he let us know that he doesn't feel that Giannis, or the people that he spoke with don't feel that Giannis will be as healthy as he was in game one. They think he might be a little sore. Whether that's true or not, Giannis did go 35 minutes in that game. I think, first off, we were all surprised to see him hit the floor. Second of all, we were kind of surprised to see him play 35 minutes the way that he did, right? Double-double in that game for Giannis. The free throws, for him, 7 of 12 is good, but it kind of lets the team down. You got to make more than that when you're shooting 12 of the team's 16 free throws. But I'll say this, the biggest problem, if I start from a totals perspective, if you're handicapping the total tonight, and it's probably the reason why this thing has gone up and down beginning last night and well into today, you see, as soon as you see movement upward, total may rise to 220.5, 221, and then you see it come back down to 220.5, 220, then back up, then back down. I think people, syndicate groups as well, may be having a little bit of conflicting opinion on how Milwaukee philosophically will approach this game from a lineup standpoint, right? We saw Mike Budenholzer third quarter, maybe mid-third quarter, start to go with a smaller lineup in response to what Milwaukee was getting destroyed by the Phoenix Suns, which was having Brook Lopez start the game playing high up in the key and watching DeAndre Ayton make a whole bunch of alley-oop passes. It's very reminiscent of the problem that Trae Young caused Philadelphia and Joel Embiid. If you come up the paint, he goes over your head with an alley-oop for a dunk. If you drop down in what they call drop-down defense and stay under the rim, Trae Young would pull up with that floater. In Chris Paul's case, it's more of a mid-range jump shot, but he had Brook Lopez on a string for 2.5 quarters, as did Devin Booker. I mean, there were numerous times, for those who watched, where Devin Booker would come off a pick and get the switch that he wanted, which was Brook Lopez, and then just ISO everybody out of the way and go one-on-one with Brook Lopez and just chew him up, because that 7-footer cannot handle the quickness of Devin Booker. So head coach Budenholzer decided that we'll try Giannis at the 5 and get Brook Lopez out of the game, because Giannis's ability, John, to very quickly slide back and forth, up and down inside the paint is a lot more versatile and quicker than is Brook Lopez. And if Giannis gets caught in a switch, Giannis can defend better than Brook Lopez can. So The question people, I think, were asking themselves tonight is Coach Budenholzer going to go with the small lineup? In that case, we're playing over because it means pace up and down the floor. Is he going to go with Brook Lopez? It could mean that they try and slow things down. In the long run, I'm of the opinion that Milwaukee does what Milwaukee does, which is play up tempo. And I think they'll try it with Giannis, depending upon how healthy he is at the 5. Maybe Bobby Portis at the 4, P.J. Tucker, and then, of course, your 2 guards, Holiday and Middleton. The people who have to play better for Milwaukee, Drew Holiday, without question. Anybody who bet his player props in Game 1, doesn't do well. And Bobby Portis. We saw him have a monster game in that clincher against Atlanta. And then you go on the road. And as we've said multiple times, role players on the road, watch out. They just don't generally bring the consistency that they have at home. It happened to him in that game. So you're looking for Holiday and Portis to play better if you like Milwaukee. You're looking for Giannis to be in the middle. Maybe, you're not going to totally shut Brook Lopez out of the game, but you want to limit his minutes. Maybe come in and sink a couple 3-pointers for you. That being said, the discussion we had on NBA Tip-Off was Phoenix is a little more versatile, according to Tony Finn. I didn't know that I agreed with it, John, because offensively, we saw a couple of games where Milwaukee played the Brooklyn Nets, and those games were rock fights. There was an 88-86.
True. Yep.
There was, and it was done by design, right? Milwaukee just figured we're big, we're long, we're physical, we'll, fight it out in the squared circle, so to speak. And then the last couple of games broke loose. Milwaukee started scoring again. So I think they're versatile enough to go either way, much as Phoenix. But I don't think either team wants to play slow. Just not the way. When listening to these player interviews heading into Game 1, I played the over in Game 1, full game. It did get there. But Jay Crowder and a bunch of guys on Phoenix telling you that they're best when they're up and down the floor. Even though Chris Paul has a reputation of being slow with the basketball. And Milwaukee, you said it, they're second fastest paced team in NBA basketball this year. Washington, I think, was one. So if you're looking at it from Milwaukee playing small lineup, I think you like over. If you're not, you probably like under. If you don't, there were plenty of guys, John, excuse me, who didn't make shots in Game 1. And the game still found its way over. Jay Crowder was 0 for 8 from the field. You really don't expect that again. As I mentioned, Drew Holiday, not good from the field in that game, 4 of 14. You don't expect that from him again. So maybe things even out a little bit where hot shooters cool off a little bit and cold shooters, pick it up a little bit. I think from that respect, maybe over's a way to go. And I also think that I'm going to back what you said earlier that, to me, this is more of a series. God, excuse me here. Than what people are giving it credit for. I think they see the route in Game 1 and believe that the series route is on. But Milwaukee's shown resiliency. And if you ask me, if you line them up on paper, I think they're pretty evenly matched. So I think my two takes on this would be Bucks plus points tonight and possibly over the total, whether you like first half or full game, up to you. But I think that those probably make the most sense. I think the Bucks, though, make the most sense to me, this side perspective.
Yeah, I think my gut, well, actually my models like the Bucks, and you'll see a supporting system of the models shortly here. It's the word that Tony Finn, I wish he was here right now, he doesn't like that word zigzag as it applies to basketball, right. But if there was ever a game that was going to have this take place, it would be this series. And I don't think... as much as I like, it's very rare that I disagree with Tony Finn, and I know he likes the prop with the sweep, and at first I thought, no, Milwaukee's got to win a game or two. I mean, I don't think the Suns are that much better after Game 1, but I think that does also reflect what you're saying with the recency bias. The Suns looked like they were the Tampa Bay Lightning. And this series is over, and it's just a matter if it goes 4 or 5 games. But the market is telling us something different, because that line opened, I think, at 5.5, 6 at most places. And now we're down 4.5. I haven't seen any 4s yet. But I think if it goes to 4, then you're going to see 221, 221.5 on the total. I think there's definitely an arbitrage there, that the more chance that Milwaukee has to win, people are going to think it has to go over. And I don't know if I agree with that or not, but that's what the market's telling me. But the betting system of the day, let's get to that. So here we go. This one is to bet on road teams in the NBA playoffs, but that's easy enough to do. However, our road team's previous game free throw rate, which is a ratio I haven't used on these systems yet, but it's a big one. That's free throws made divided by field goals attempted, is 10% or lower. And when it's 10% or lower, that either means the refs were letting the guys play, or the team in question just didn't do a good job drawing fouls. And Milwaukee in game 1 was probably a combination of two. I know I heard rumor that Ski is never going to buy dinner for an NBA ref for the foreseeable future. And I have to agree with him. It's been largely inconsistent throughout the whole entire playoffs. But every single series, you could make a case that in this game it was inconsistent in this fashion, or it was inconsistent for both teams, but both teams didn't know how it was going to be called. Much like we talk about with the Major League Baseball umpires. And, all these managers want, all these head coaches want is a consistent called game. If you're going to call the outside pitch, then do it consistently. Give my guy the outside pitch too. And if you're going to let him play more physical than what is average during the regular season, then do it for both. But it seemed that there's been a lot more of those. What's the word for it, Rob? When there's a foul at one end of the court and it gets shown, to the world that it wasn't a foul, and then there's that makeup foul at the other end. Almost instantly, there's another foul, and you can tell the player is like, "What?" And I don't think he's saying like, "What? I didn't foul him." I think he's saying like, "What? You didn't call that at the other end." And that's the part that I think that gets infuriating for guys like Ski, especially. It disrupts the flow of the game. But anyway, in our ratio here of 10% or lower is applicable to the Bucks, who only made 9 free throws, which is the third parameter. And that's a pretty rare situation when a team doesn't make more than 10 in an NBA playoff game, especially the finals. So our road warrior then in this situation is 53, 34, and 1 for 61% over the last 20 NBA playoff seasons. 20 and 10, 67% over the last 5 playoff seasons. So this tells you to take the Bucks plus the points for game 2. And I do think you sprinkle a little bit on that money line. And if there was ever a game, Rob, that I'm going to look forward to betting in-game, it's this one. And if you don't mind, I'll just go over the levels now.
Yeah.
So what you want to do, and this strategy was worked out, basically taking the time that COVID gave me and just looking at the NBA as I would have back in my Wall Street days, looking at the chart of the Japanese yen or the US dollar or the British pound or the S&P 500. Apple computer, there's volatility. That's the word, volatility. And it suddenly hit me that in the NBA, it's the highest scoring sport we know. And there are swings. And some of the time, they're big swings. So a simple in-game method, and it's very simple, is if you like the Bucks tonight, anytime during the first or second quarter, if Phoenix scores 10 unanswered or more points, you take the Bucks. So the strategy is to bet 50% pre-flop on the Bucks, then add 25% each time the Phoenix Suns score 10 or more unanswered points. The beauty of the 10 straight is that usually is accompanied by a TV timeout or a coach's timeout. It gives you time to get your apps out, gives you time to price shop, gives you time to get a good price. And you have to fill up that 25% and then the next 25% during the first half only. If you get in the third and the fourth quarter, I haven't found a reason to bet in-game yet. And that is truly a crapshoot in my opinion. I haven't found any value yet. But the one thing I can tell you is you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan going into the game of what you're going to do, and hopefully I just outlined that for the Bucks. And of course, the Phoenix Suns, you would do the direct opposite. This line's down to 4.5, and I think it'd be very foolish to think that in-game is not going to see the Phoenix Suns as a dog. The swings in the first quarter and the second quarter are going to be that great that these algorithms that they use are going to swing big time, and it's going to give you a chance to get the Suns as a dog. So again, the same process: 50% pre-flop at your 4.5 or 4-point level. Then I would look for pick'em, and then plus 2.5 for the other 25% incremental bets. You never bet more than your normal bet. I can't emphasize that enough. So many people that have DM'd me and told me how they use in-game. You never want to do, number one, is make a bet on the Suns, and let's say hypothetically Milwaukee's blowing them out in the first quarter by 10, 12, 15 points, and then you take the Bucks because you think you made a bad bet. That is, what we used to say a long time ago. That's a financial disaster waiting to happen. That's the easiest way to lose really a lot of money. And you don't ever want to have more than your normal size bet. So if $400 for a 4-unit play is your normal bet, then you do 200 pre-flop and then 100 and 100, and that's the end of the night. And then you just sit back and watch the second half. But I know it's hard to be disciplined like that. It's taken Rob and I about 25 years. Well, maybe not 25, probably a good 10. But I had the benefit of Wall Street behind me and having that, having already learned that, that if you miss a trade, there's another trade coming right around the corner. If you miss a bet in game, there's going to be another one right around the corner. You're not forced to do anything. So that's my take on that tonight. And the same thing with the total. I use a formula that's used for option trading. It's called implied volatility, and it values where an option should be priced based on the underlying price volatility of the security. So I've kind of tweaked it a little bit, but it's worked really, really well in game, and I love doing it. So if I see any opportunities, I'll be sure to tweet them out, and hopefully it'll work. Because I know Rob, I'll never forget the Creighton game. We middled. We did middle that one, and there was another one in the NBA that actually I think I was on with that Tony Finn guy who's backstage, and I think we middled that one too. But in this case, I think you're not trying to middle. If you like either team, the strategy applies. I would not try to middle this game, because the second half somebody's going to take control, and then again you could really end up losing. And you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you can lose both sides of a game. You just never want to do that. Unless you can get 30, 35 point spread between the under and the over on the in-game, you just don't want to do it. Look at this guy. What are you, on the AP? Looks like he's typing on the AP wire.
I am. I'm telling him right now that I have some top secret double probation intel, but I can't tell him. Good day, Mr. Intel. Good afternoon. I couldn't sign in. I'm late, and it's all right. I just want to say hello and say goodbye. I got to go. I'm too busy. No, I have. I think everyone knows I have some family in town, so they're my daughters. I don't get to see them very often. They're at that age. They're in their 60s, and they're far too busy for me. They're 60s.
In the what? Did you say 60s?
That's what I said. They're more responsible than me at 61. I'm 61. They're 23, 25, and they're more responsible than me, which makes hanging out with them at strip clubs quite uncomfortable. I don't know.
So I think
we're having a good time. We're having a good time, and my wife is insisting that I spend less time messing around at the Latino pub, the Latino Irish pub. That's what she said.
Oh, wait, I didn't know there was one of those in Vegas.
There is. You're sitting in it right now.
Oh.
Manny's Irish pub. It's Manuel, who was a Latino man, and just like had a bunch of Irish friends, so he knew where his bread was buttered. He knew how to pad the bottom line. Hell, if he named it Manny's Finn Irish Pub, I'd support him solely, I think. But okay, that's all I got.
Now.
What's that?
Do now. You pretty much do now.
I don't do much of anything worthwhile.
I want you to know, though, I did read in the New England Journal of Medicine several times over that activities and those activities and others kill brain cells.
What activity?
Supposedly in the front lobe area, which is you can recover from that. It's there's billions of other cells.
Most people can, but that lobotomy that I had pretty much destroyed any chance of me recovering from that.
And the steel plate that you can't go through airports, but
that's in my ass. That's in my ass.
Oh, yeah, that's where you got shot, like Forrest Gump did.
No, that was in my leg.
Oh.
I got a few pieces, and a staple in my knee. Back in the old days when they didn't have electricity and orthoscopics, we had to have surgery done where they actually took a staple gun, like you use them when you're building a home and putting siding on, and they just put that ligament right back in that knee. Never had one problem with it since.
That's good.
Yeah.
Here's one of our loyal followers. This is actually a good topic to conclude our analysis of Game 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's someone in the house that suggested that the Suns were going to go 4-0. And before I forget, Terrell Haddon is beating Morikawa by 1 through the first round.
Bam! I forgot all about that when we had that discussion yesterday, and I didn't go play him.
Yep.
Still can't.
See, this is what happens. You guys distract me. That's why I don't get anything else done.
54 holes to go, though, Tony. I mean, 54 holes and one-shot lead is hardly safe.
Mother Nature could intervene and say, listen, this is it. Stop the race. Whoever's in first place is the winner. What? He's ahead by 1 stroke. He's not in the lead.
No.
They're
pretty far behind. There's a guy, his last name is Senior. He's 353rd in the world golf rankings. He's leading at 763. And then there's some big names going to chase him down.
Okay.
But it's pretty cool seeing a guy like that be on the leaderboard. It's that, I don't know how they rank them when you get that low, with all due respect, but I guess there's a formula. But Tony, we dissected it. We showed that NBA angle of the day from John Ryan Sports. We showed pretty much everything. But wanted to give you a brief chance here to give your take on what Nick is suggesting here, because this is kind of interesting. If the Suns win tonight, I think NBA teams are 31-4 winning the series in the finals if they win the first 2 games at home. Tell me if I'm wrong on that.
No, repeat that one more time. I apologize. Gabe Morency, he's bothering me while I'm talking to you. I apologize. I'll take care of Gabe later. Go ahead.
Damn it, Gabe.
The teams who win the first 2 games of finals are 31-4, I believe. So tell me if I'm wrong on that. That's what my memory tells me.
Okay, well that's. I'm sure if that's what it tells you, then it's probably pretty close. Go ahead.
It's pretty close. But I know you never really liked that zigzag theory.
No.
I was watching the WagerTalk tip-off show today. You made that very clear, as did Ski with the poor refereeing.
He's still sour about that Lakers series. Man, he's sour still about that.
He looked pretty tired. I mean, has he slept at all since?
Well, there was a big party. There was a big party here last night. I didn't go. I've already gotten, and I made a comment this morning. Somebody said I threw him under the bus or something. It wasn't because I didn't know about it. I knew about it, but I had my daughters here, so that would have been the death of me trying to explain that.
Right. Yeah. Well, you avoided injury. Let's put it that way. You avoided significant injury by not attending.
I don't do that very well, but thank you. Yes.
So this is a question here on Game 3. If they go 2-0, do you think the Bucks then will go home and say, "Well, gee, we can win 2 at home"?
Well, I'm sure they will. They're going to say that. And if they don't say that, then they're not they're not the competitors that they need to be. So,
but what do you think's going to go on their head? What do you think, Coach? I'm going to nickname him Coach Static because he makes no changes, he makes no adjustments, and we just
Coach
go with
Bud?
what we have. Yeah,
Bud. Well, I will say this. They did make some adjustments. Like when they lost to Atlanta, they did make some adjustments. Okay, that's when they went smaller, or they used Holiday. What they did was it was a different adjustment because all they tried to do was adjust to Trae Young. They wanted to keep Trae Young. I mean, everybody nowadays. You agree with this? Everyone tries to build that wall for the Greek and says, "Look, we're going to make you shoot from 12, 15 feet or out, or you're going to have to commit a foul and run through our wall and charge one of us, get an offensive foul." Most teams have done that. That's been a successful ploy or a tactic, against the Greek, as long as those three guys have the ability to recover if there's a dish or et cetera, et cetera. But the Bucks, all they wanted to do was adjust to Trae Young, and that was the adjustment they made. And who did they put on Trae Young? The rest of the, is that right? Am I thinking right?
No,
that was right.
Yeah. Well, and plus Trae Young got banged up in that series. Tony,
right.
Play a couple of games.
Here's the deal with Phoenix. Phoenix spreads the floor pretty well. They really do. They can spread the floor. They can play at space and pace. They choose most of the time. They don't choose to do that. They're confident in their ability to defend and match up regardless of who it is, and pick and choose their spots. These are the two best teams in the NBA. If I'm not mistaken, they're the two best teams, the two top 5 teams in points per transition. Defensively, they don't give up transition points. And I think we saw a lot of it in Game 1, guys. How many times did you see Phoenix get a rebound, and maybe a rebound with an aberration, a bad bounce or a long shot, a bad shot or a turnover, and immediately look to play at a little more pace, even 116-year veteran Chris Paul. And you saw some alley-oops. You saw a lot of lobs into Ayton when Milwaukee was playing small that they really had no answer for. And in pick and rolls, they're going to have to do something. You guys, essentially they surrendered to Paul and his pick and roll ability with, it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter who they had a matchup advantage almost every time they executed their pick and roll. Phoenix did, and it got to the point where Coach Bud eventually just pulled Fox completely out of the game. He pulled him completely out of the game after basically doing essentially drop coverage. Would you agree with that, Rob and John?
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
And then what happens in drop coverage? You're preventing teams. You're trying to prevent teams from scoring at the rim. Well, nobody scores less points at the rim in the NBA than who?
Phoenix Suns.
The Phoenix Suns. Who has the best field goal percentage in mid-range jumpers and elbow jumpers than in basketball? The Phoenix Suns. They don't have, in my opinion, they got Holiday, they traded a lot of pieces away. And when Dede got hurt, and he hasn't played in most of these playoffs, guys, his loss limited their ability to make adjustments or make changes, in-game changes to the first and second rotations. It really limited Coach Bud. And I made a comment today on the show that they corrected. They're right. I said the Suns were completely healthy. They're not. Sarge is out. However, without Sarge, I don't think Sarge makes that big of. Ayton can go. Ayton's a young guy, can play a lot of minutes. He can play another 2 or 3 minutes, and when he doesn't play, Crowder, and then they bring the young kid Johnson in, and they still play small. It helps. That's what they did when Ayton was resting in Game 1. It helped, again, as I mentioned on the show, that it helped that the Milwaukee was playing small at that time, right? but I don't think they have a fear of going to Johnson and Crowder when Ayton's off the floor going small against this Milwaukee Bucks team. Why? Because Fox wants to hang out and shoot three-pointers anyway, and I don't think the Greek is healthy. I heard somebody saying they were really happy about how he performed and what he looked like. Here's the deal: I didn't see, other than a block where he ran the court really hard. Okay,
that was amazing.
Well, it was also he also did get the clean block, but he absolutely it was a foul. It was crazy. It was stupid. It was a foul. But you don't see that kind of energy from him, and here's what I disagree with. I disagree with the fact that Milwaukee can win a low-scoring game. I'm not convinced. They have to hope Phoenix doesn't have a great night, and they have to score. And they're capable, Rob, John. We both know they're capable of scoring. They are. They're capable.
Yep. You see it in the betting line, the markets. I was talking with Rob before you came on. If we go to 4, you're going to see that total go to 221, 221.5. I don't think it's going to go 3.5, but if it would, then you would expect the total to go even higher. Well,
yeah. I was surprised. I should have released it yesterday. When I saw that total bounce, when I saw that total come down to 218.5, 219 is when I should have jumped for the clients, and I just didn't want to because I wanted to get some information on. I was hoping to get some more intel on the Greek. Was he sore from that? He hadn't really done any physical activity, and it's probably silly for me to try to find that intel out because I'm not certain it matters. At this point in time of the season, when you've played 100 games, if you're sore because you sat out a week, then it's not logical for a 28, 30-year-old man in that kind of physical conditioning to be sore, from playing one game. It depends on the Greek. If his knee's really bad, you have the strength, and you end up using other muscles in your body to compensate for playing while you kind of favor a certain part of your body, you can. I went out and did something 2 days ago. I went out and did something that I normally don't do on a daily basis. And for the next day and a half, I'm walking half bent over like I'm 100 years old and I can't straighten my back. It's sad. It's a sad sight. But that's what I'm talking to. And that is he healthy? And hyperextended knee, that's not something that a week doesn't heal. We talked about it with Trae Young. We talked about it with Trae Young, remember?
Yep. And Trae Young obviously didn't do what Giannis looked like there was nothing wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't you think? He was bouncing around that first quarter. And if you would think, when you run down the court and then turn around for defense is what I was watching, no issue whatsoever. And you would think that that's where he would actually stop and physically just turn around.
Well, let me ask you this.
But he was jumping.
Didn't you notice a marked difference though in how he played, you guys? He typically dominates the ball. When he's on the floor, if he's not bringing it down the court or at the top of the key, he's fairly active all the time, and he has the ball if it's not low post. He's one of those guys. I also agree with this. I think he has the ball in his hand too much. That is not productive time, should I say. It's not productive time. I don't want the freak, the top of the key, dishing dimes out to my other play. That's not what I want from this guy. If you don't have somebody else can do it, then fine. But Holiday's capable. I saw a marked difference. How many shots did he take in the game? How many below his season average did he take?
He only took 11 shots, Tom.
Yeah, it was 40% less.
Right.
Why? I might remember right.
Why? Was it because of the minutes? Why?
Think of it as an athlete, and we've all been athletes, and that you get dinged or worse, a meniscus. It's in your head. I don't care who you are. You come off of the injury that fast.
Yeah.
You got to be thinking about it.
So what changes tonight? What changes tonight? What changes tonight on that?
Well, I guess on the one hand,
real quick, Game 1, to me, when you're talking about Giannis generally having the ball in his hands as the point forward, center, guard, whatever we want to label him as, and the fact that he didn't have it in his hands, to me that was a conscious coaching decision. They didn't even know if the guy was going to play. So listen, let's not extend you too much. I don't want you out there with the ball in your hands. I don't want you driving to the rim from 40 feet away like you love to do. Let's let Drew Holiday play point. Now, dependent upon health tonight, that coaching decision could change. It may not change. We don't know. I mean, it's hard to make that call without.
Let me ask you, Rob.
Exactly
Let me say you're right. I'm going to assume that's a good. I think that's a good assessment. It's good. Logically makes sense. Here's my question then: if you're going to take that approach to his playing time, why start him? Why play him? Because I think, tell me right now that his 11 shots, that the Greeks' 11 shots in that game made the difference, made them better in that game.
Well,
I can't agree more.
Wasn't better.
Huh?
That's for sure. The final result wasn't better.
Right.
And I think having him on the floor, I mean, the fact that he pulls down 17 rebounds and
Yeah.
gets to the free throw line 12 times, it does show some activity.
That
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm going to say I think it does show some activity. It does show something, and that's another thing I didn't mention in the show today. I told you what I would do if I was Coach Williams. You know how I would approach this game. I also would be fouling. I would use, especially if it's Johnson or some of the guys I would be fouling him and making him go to the line.
Well, that's hack a Ben, hack a Giannis.
And I don't mean, I'm not so much as a hack a Shaq kind of thing, but I'd be really physical with him. If he's posted up, I would be. I'd tell for I don't want you to do it for 3 fouls or 4 fouls. But if you don't have a foul, I want you to be friggin' physical with this guy. Let's see, is he healthy? Is he moving like he did before in the last series? Those kind of things. And maybe that's just me, old school kind of NBA, where you're gonna take your knee and you're going to shove it in the back of a guy's got his back to you. You're going to shove it right in the back of his thigh and his knee, and you're going to test him, and you're going to find out how he reacts. That's always been the way I thought basketball was played or supposed to be played, especially at the professional level.
I'll say this real quick. If I go back to, first of all, Joel Embiid played with a torn MCL. Looked just fine the entire series. So I guess it depends upon the player. If we go back to that series where when Danny Green got hurt, John, you'll remember this. Danny Green got hurt, and when Danny Green got hurt, that meant minutes shift. Just like this Dario Saric injury means that minutes shift. Tone, you suggested, they could play 8 in a couple more minutes. He's young, play a couple more minutes. But when that Green injury happened and Thibault was asked to play more minutes, the first thought that came into my head is, as a defensive player, asking him to play more minutes just means him committing more fouls. And I think he either fouled out of that very first game with increased minutes or he had 5 fouls. DeAndre Ayton's a little bit scary here where fouls are concerned. You can't lose him on the floor because Giannis is going to be the 5, and you want to go out and test him, and Ayton winds up in foul trouble, and, you're already down one big man.
That would be. I like that. Rob. I think that's smart. I would say this though, the history of Ayton. One of the things is I remember when he got drafted. It was halfway through his rookie season, and there's a beat writer I know in Phoenix, who wrote that the Phoenix Suns made a horrible mistake. They made a horrible mistake using that early pick on Ayton because he was not modern day NBA where the players can handle the basketball, shoot from distance. He basically, at that point in time, Ayton was averaging, I think it was 15 and 10, 17, 15, 20 games into his rookie season. He was 15 and 10 guy, right?
And passive to an extent.
Huh?
And passive as a center to an extent, right? With his abilities.
Right, and that's funny because now I think he got into what did he do? He introduced himself into the NBA Finals as a. I'm trying to think what his line was, but essentially I think it was a 20 almost, right?
22 and 19, yeah. That's a big day.
So that's a pretty big day, and I think he did all this with 3 fouls, right?
Yep. 3 fouls.
So he's not. I don't know what his history is, and I shouldn't say I do. I pretend that I feel very comfortable with with him playing in the paint and being a physical guy. He's not. Listen, I think in a couple more years, he'll be even more physical. He'll be capable of being more physical. He'll put the weight on. He'll do this typical NBA young guys do. That are that size, that are 100 feet high, and still putting down 20,000 calories a day and not gaining a pound. He'll eventually change a little bit, but my point with that was that you're right. You get Ayton in foul trouble, especially with Sarge. With no Sarge, although I think in this situation Sarge isn't a big loss. I don't think it's a big loss in scheme. It could be. You're right, Rob. If he has 4 fouls in the first half, they're in trouble.
I think where it could be, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong. Sarge, he stretches a defense just by his 3-point presence. He's not a bad 3-point shooter.
Well,
so he's not in the game now.
No. Yeah, the guy that'll get his minutes, John, will be Torrey Craig, and Torrey Craig can stretch it too. So, I was saying on the NBA Tip-Off Show, I was looking for some Torrey Craig props because they would be really cheap. I mean, over 6.5 points and rebounds or something stupid. And he's going to get about 16 minutes worth of action. He can be an active guy. But you're right. When Sarge goes down, minutes do shift. That was the point. Some people have to play a couple more. And, to Ayton's point, 22 and 19 and 3 fouls. A lot of that work was done when they were experimenting 2.5 quarters with Brook Lopez at center. Do you think Ayton can handle Brook Lopez without getting in any foul trouble?
No, you're right.
Giannis winds up going to the rim tonight, active in the paint. Those 3 fouls could be picked up in the first 10 minutes by DeAndre Ayton.
They absolutely could. My question is, that was the point of my whole question when I asked you, why even play this guy if he's not going to play that way, as you just described,
right?
Especially tonight.
Right, the rest would be good till Sunday.
Especially tonight, because if there's a game that they want to steal, if there's a game that's going to allow them to win this series, they steal this game tonight somehow, some way. If they don't, I think it's game, set, match. My opinion.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind too, with Giannis out, he was 4th in minutes, possession, holding the ball, as we talked about in that game against Atlanta. Holiday and Middleton are 1-2 in possession minutes per game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it makes sense that we're just saying, even more so, that you wouldn't have played Giannis in game 1, and we'll never know what the result would have been, but my gut tells me it would have been closer.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't trying to insinuate or imply anything there. I wanted to know your opinion. I don't know that what he did, at least what I visually saw, that made them any better. And I don't mean Rob did say the end result wasn't better. I'm telling you, I didn't see Milwaukee. Never in that game did I ever feel like the Suns were going to lose. Never, not one time. And you need to feel that way, huh?
Yeah, I was going to say, even when Milwaukee closed to 7 in the second half, it didn't have that feel like
that it was collapsing.
As much as the announcers tried to make it sound like here they come, it wasn't really here they come. Phoenix came out of the timeout and stretched it back out again. So it's a different game, and I think we started this where total was concerned, and where total's concerned, it's really, really, really hard. Other than they're just we're going to have multiple guys who take shots, shoot poorly tonight.
Yeah.
If that's not the case, it's hard to make a case that this game stays under the number because it's going to be played. Jay Crowder gave it away to the world prior to Game 1, which is why I played over in Game 1 as a best bet. He said flat out, we want to play this series at pace. We know we're best when we're getting up and down the floor. And sure enough, that game was played at a pretty quick pace for them. And that includes having Chris Paul on the floor, the king of liking to walk it up. We may talk about Giannis pounding the basketball, but Chris Paul loves to wait. Even when Phoenix wasn't in transition, guys, and they were in transition a lot, they were looking to run. But when they weren't in transition, when they got it up the floor, it wasn't wait till the shot clock hits 11 and then get into our offense. It was let's get a shot up at the 15-second mark because the first available. Neither one of these teams, according to what I read and what I heard them saying, wants to play against the other's set defense. They feel like that's, against the half-court defense of the Bucks, Phoenix doesn't feel like they're going to be as efficient, and Milwaukee the same way. So the only way to do that is to spread the floor, play a broken floor game, get up and down, and attack. If you have to be in the half court, attack at the first opportunity. Don't wait. So
the Suns ran 95%. 95 was, I can't remember what it was. Some guy, I read it, and I won't attest to it, but he said 95% of their set plays were pick and roll. And if the Milwaukee's going to get back, and then Phoenix is pretty comfortable with this pick and roll against Milwaukee because I'm telling you what, they abused Milwaukee. Especially Lopez.
I mean, I don't know if you put Giannis in that pick and roll tonight.
Yeah.
His agility is a little bit better. I mean, Lopez, like I said on the show,
his length.
You watch him.
Yep.
I mean, the couple of times when Booker came off a pick to get that switch, Lopez, and to watch Lopez plant his feet and rear end back and shove his hand out like he's telling a pack of people not to cross the street. And, Booker just chewed him up. Mark Jackson couldn't say it enough. He's absolutely right. That can't happen. You can't. Hey, listen, Coach Bud has been criticized throughout these playoffs for multiple reasons, but if he does that again with that guy, whether he tells Brook Lopez to play high in the paint or whether he tells him to play drop down, it's a lose-lose proposition either way.
It
because
is.
As much as these analytics guys want to tell you that the mid-range game is worthless and you have to shoot threes, don't tell that to Chris Paul and Devin Booker. That mid-range game is deadly in pick and roll like this.
If they're gonna let Booker and Paul shoot 15-foot jumpers, they're going to hit 65-70% of these jumpers, and it's over.
It's over.
Yeah.
So that can't, unless you're, I'm going to say Budenholzer's not a complete, he's an NBA coach.
Right.
And he's got a coaching staff. We have to do something different because that just is not going to work.
No,
period.
It isn't.
Story. And Ayton's going to score 22, 16 on dunks once again.
That's right. That's
dunks.
correct. That is absolutely correct. So, here's the deal. Been here, done this, said this stuff before in NBA Finals where I felt like this is just a horrible matchup. One person got a nick or a bump or a scrape, and didn't get their tetanus shot, so everybody's worried about them. And everything changed in Game 2.
You know what,
so
guys?
really, after tonight's game, if it plays out like we just talked about, where Milwaukee just can't make the adjustments, I'm telling you, I don't care where they play in Game 3. To answer this guy's question, the audience guys, how do you feel about Game 3? I don't care where they play. But if Phoenix does what they did in Game 1, all it tells me is Milwaukee can't make an adjustment. They'll do what they can, but they can't. They can't do it. There are certain times when it makes no sense. That matchups make no sense. Milwaukee on the first rotation matches up pretty well against Phoenix, except for one thing: Holiday's struggling to defend properly, and what am I trying to say? But and here's the deal: they sacrificed points the way they started out on Game 1. You sacrifice some points. Not because you have Holiday in the game. That's not the point. It is how they've played without Didi. That I still think that loss was pretty significant.
And it wasn't talked about a lot, Tone.
No, I know.
Vincenzo is a defensive ace for that team.
Yes.
I mean, his height, his length.
When your shooting guard's pulling down 13, 15 rebounds, that's significant.
Yeah, he's a big piece, and it wasn't really talked about a lot. I'll say one last thing about the difference between Atlanta and Phoenix for Milwaukee. And even if I go back to Brooklyn, the last three opponents for Milwaukee, right? I'll go Brooklyn, Atlanta, Phoenix. There's, mentioned this before the first game, there's a physicality and a tenacity about Phoenix that doesn't exist in Atlanta, that doesn't exist in Brooklyn. Those guys are not physical. Phoenix may not be big. They're a small team, guys. They're a small team. But they're physical and they're tenacious, and Milwaukee's got to adjust to that too. They've got to come ready for these guys because how many deflections of passes and this defense that's up in their face in half court. Milwaukee's a pretty big team, and they can be physical too. They've shown it. PJ Tucker, Bobby Portis.
Well, that's Tucker's the sacrifice. I'm sorry, I couldn't spit it out, but Tucker, I think he's a liability I mean, I just think he's a liability offensively. You know, he'll sit up there and shoot the threes, but he sure hasn't been very good. Not in the playoffs.
He's got to make them. It's the same role that Marcus Morris plays for the Clippers.
Yes.
Those corner threes. The power forward that's got to shoot those corner threes. And P.J. Tucker, you know, for the most part, he hasn't made. None of those guys have, though. If I go down the list, Pat Connaughton hasn't been great. Bryn Forbes hasn't been great.
True. Forbes has been invisible. He had that one game, but he's been invisible.
They need those guys.
Yeah.
They need those guys.
Well, here's a stat for you. As I was playing around, the formula for the Bucks are to have more points in the paint than the Suns, and to have fewer fast break points than the Suns. And since 2018, the Bucks in that situation are 37, 17, and 3 for 69%.
They outscored
11. 46
Did they
and 11
outscore
straight up.
Didn't they outscore Atlanta 66-36 in the paint one game?
It's what they do best.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and I think in the first quarter, you know, beating a dead horse here, but even if Giannis he doesn't want to post up, if he faces the basket a foot or two outside the paint and he drives and goes to the rim, that should be encouraging for people who are back in the Bucks. If he passes it, then we're watching a replay of the 76ers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Simple as that.
I feel like when we say this to people, they consider points in the paint are set up half-court defense or half-court offense solely. It's really not. Transition points are scored in the paint. A quick offense is scored in the paint. So it's a combination of things. It's why Milwaukee, again, we'll go back to second fastest tempo team in the NBA.
Yes.
And a lot of those points they score are in the paint, and they're done quickly, very quickly. Fast, one pass, boom, two pass, dunk. That's two in the paint. It's not necessarily come down and be patient and,
You couldn't be more accurate. That's points in the paint. First off, when I see points in the paint, when teams that lead the league or are in the top half of points in the paint, there's always, my first thought is they're not a very good 3-point shooting team. They should be healthier and heavier in the paint. Grizzlies were a pretty good example. They were the top team in the league last 2 years of points in the paint. Why? Well, because their point guard Morant is not yet a good 3-point shooting kid. I mean, this is a kid that scores his points, taking it to the hole, etc. And did in college. And until he's becomes more proficient as a shooter, that's what the Grizzlies are going to play.
And I'm going to bring you back, Tone, real quick to Gonzaga. Remember when we talked about Gonzaga? And you would talk about pace and space. You would say Gonzaga passes the basketball quicker up the floor than any team we had seen. And that's a key to points in the paint and transition. It's just 1-2, boom, get it up there, get it in the bucket. And Milwaukee's good at that. They're good at that.
Yeah, they are. That's a good point.
Phoenix is too.
And if you listen, the one thing that I saw in that game that you mentioned earlier, I didn't say anything, but was some. It's almost like they aren't playing Paul to go to the rim. They were deflecting passes. Paul was trying to make some passes. They were deflecting like they were playing those lanes, like they knew he was going to pass and not drive. Now that changed a little bit because he got a little more aggressive, but they were doing anything they could to cheat. And when you're doing that, you're cheating. I mean, I'm saying cheating in a way. You're cheating. You're cheating. And if a team catches you cheating in the NFL, it's history speaks volumes to that. Good defensive coordinators know when to cheat. Offensive coordinators know when a good defensive coordinator is going to cheat, and they beat you. So I don't know. It's going to be a fun game. It's going to be interesting to watch. Something's going to change on Milwaukee's part to have me change the way I feel about this, though. And I will say this, Gabe. Gabe is talking to me again. I'm getting distracted, but he and I talked at length about Phoenix before the playoffs started, and how everybody that came on his show was saying Phoenix was one of these teams, these great regular season teams that was not going to be, because playoffs are all about matchups, and they're all about being physical. And experience, so Phoenix couldn't possibly be in this position right now.
Yep.
It didn't hurt that Kawhi got hurt. It didn't hurt that Anthony Davis missed most of the postseason. I mean, everything fell in pretty good place for them.
Jamal Murray,
right.
Denver Garden.
But they have this, and now this is the Greek. So maybe it's fate. I don't know. Maybe it's fate. But I think you would be asleep at the wheel if you don't think this Phoenix team is built or has the DNA or the tools to be that new NBA team. I hate to say video NBA team, because I don't think they are that team. And I'll tell you something else. I was wrong. I said wrong to a degree. Both of these teams, Milwaukee and Phoenix, can play defense if they want to. They can defend. And I said that you're not going to have defensive-minded teams playing in the NBA Finals in the future. It's going to be about getting easy, open looks and having guys that can execute those shots, 3-point shots. So
you can't let these teams set up. And
no.
And to a man and to the coaches, they let us know before Game 1 they did not want to have that be the case, and it wasn't the case in Game 1. It's hard to make a case from a fundamental standpoint for under in Game 2. It really is, unless you just are projecting a bunch of missed shots, because the points are going to be available there. And I'll pat us 3 on the back for before the playoffs start, actually saying that Phoenix was going to be a tough out in the playoffs because they don't turn the ball over.
They don't.
They're protective of the basketball, and if you're not giving away possessions, you're going to be a tough out no matter what.
Yeah, their turnover to assist ratio, Paul's is. It's not believable. If we weren't watching him and somebody said, "Listen, this was in the NBA at a pace playing it," no, that's not possible. And you credit to you, Rob, as you said it. You keep saying it over every time we talk. This team's not going to turn the ball over. You're going to have to beat them. You have to make your shots, and you're going to have to beat them. And if you don't shoot well enough, you're not going to beat this Phoenix team. You have to shoot better. They're not monsters defensively, but they do a lot of things right. They do, they stay in front of their man and they're pests, and that's good enough. A lot of times that's good enough, So
fundamentally sound, to say the least.
Well, they are. Yeah. Bridges, the kid from Villanova's turned into a heck of a defender.
Wings
are so important nowadays.
Yep.
If I'm drafting a kid from Villanova, I'm never going to be concerned with him understanding how to play defense. Whether he's capable or not is another question, but I'm never going to feel that. And I'm also going to be about quite a bit richer if I can get the Phillies to win the World Series, because I got them at 6,001.
He's killed a lot of brain cells in that one night.
I got them at 6,001 because I think they're going to. Here's what I think: they're going to go after. They're going to make a deal with the Cubs before they leave tonight, and they're going to say, "Listen, if we beat you tonight, you're going to take this for your bullpen, and we're going to give you, and this is going to happen. This is going to happen." So that's all Philly needs. They need a closer.
Yeah, now it's Ranger Suarez at the current time.
Hey, what happens when Ranger comes into the game? And listen, what do they call Ranger? Don't they call Wheeler Ranger? Is him? No, it's not Ranger. It's Eflin. Is it Eflin? They call
Eflin
Ranger
is.
too. Yeah, he comes in. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if you're Goliath. He doesn't care who you are. He's coming right at you, and if he's mad at you, he's going to throw at you. And we love Eflin. That's pretty Philadelphia mentality, isn't it?
He starts tonight.
Yes, I know. Yeah. I know. And a dog. He's a dog. He's a dog.
And you can't like that.
Sounds
what do you
like
mean?
He took the same stance here in this game.
I like dogs.
Yeah, I like Philly tonight.
They're not a big dog. I got them at plus 102. I think is what I got. That's all I got.
They got Boston at Fenway the next 3, and actually the starting pitching lines up pretty good for the Phillies to get possibly 2 out of 3 there.
Yeah, if Nola, I'm a little concerned. I don't know if Nola's
pitched the last game Sunday.
Yeah, but he's not been good last couple times.
Up and down.
I'm concerned about the tack with him. I'm really I'm hoping that I'm hoping that's not the case. But that would if without him being really good, I got no chance to collect on my 6,001.
Right. They need
6,001.
Yeah.
Well, with the remaining time, why don't we go through
You can get 100,000 on the Royals right now if you want to take that.
Well, then why don't you do that instead?
well, because
you don't have any guts.
It's not nothing guts. It has to do with being. I take some pride in having IQ that's higher than 80. So, and anybody with an IQ higher than 80 isn't going to make that bet. So.
Well, then take the Jacksonville Jaguars.
That's
an overpriced
that would take
commodity.
Some guts. Yeah.
That's about the richest futures line there is, in my humble opinion. Yeah.
What is?
The Jaguars future line.
What is
it? Win the division. Oh, I forget. It's ridiculous, but it should be almost twice what it is because of Trevor and their second round pick who escapes.
Well, you're an MIT guy. You're an MIT guy. You can only go so high. If there's 4 teams and 3 of them have plane crashes, you see, there's certain things you have to take into consideration. When it's like you have 4 balls that get into this round hole, and you have each one's bigger or smaller. They're all different sizes. What are the odds of rolling that one that only barely fits?
And you're blindfolded.
Well, it doesn't really matter. But the odd, if there was 100 balls, then you can raise that all you want. There's only 4 balls, right? How many teams is there? 5.
Well, what you're saying is if only one of the balls fit to the hole, then there's a 25% 1 in 4 probability that you're going to pick the right one.
If there's only one that fits in the hole, then here's the odds. Here's the odds that you can make any you want on the other 3.
Hey, I just bet Jacksonville at 10,000 to 1. I have a 25% chance of winning.
That's true. If all things equal, and if it's played in a vacuum.
Oh, infamous vacuum. The Hoover.
Yeah, well, it's played on the moon. Listen, your skill set on the moon, it's a different skill set.
I will go first for the final bets. We were going to break down the Cincinnati Milwaukee game, but I can do that myself.
Milwaukee. That's how you break it down. I'm mad at the Reds, so it doesn't matter.
I'm on the Reds.
Yeah.
I'm on the Reds.
4 runs in the bottom of the ninth to the Royals. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that is enough to make you sick.
It's enough to make you want to jump on my math, my bungee cord, and my math. And that's just suicidal. Period. All
right, so I have Cincinnati as a best bet. Now, the best bet is, a 2-unit bet out of a 2, 3, 4, 5%. I also have Drew Holiday over 8.5 assists at plus 110. And as Rob said, Bridges plays great defense, but I'm going to take under 10.5 points plus 115. So those are that's my trio. So let's move on to Rob, and then we'll go to Tony, and then we'll all go to dinner, and I can try to avoid that WagerTalk party.
Oh.
Well, you're 3,000 miles away, so you're good.
Oh, that's true. I forgot. Tony said I was sitting in a Las Vegas pub right now.
Yeah. Well, no, I said you were sitting in a pub. I said you were in a bar. I never said it was Las Vegas. Joe assumed that. You see?
I never fully appreciated that it mattered where you thought you were at the time.
It never matters to me where I think I am. It only matters where I am.
And where you're going.
No, that doesn't matter either, because I know where I'm going. I'm going forward. I am not going backwards.
At least 300 yards until you get pulled over.
A little bit further than that, but you're correct. Because
good. They're trusting you. That's great.
It did come with being responsible.
You can tell by my lighting we're starting to get...
Oh, you're getting sunburn again.
Well, we're also getting a little thunderhead action. But we'll get the free picks in with Rob here and you, and then we'll,
you want my free pick? Do I have a free pick? Do you have a free pick, Rob? Let's hear yours.
Oh, if you don't, then. Well, and also tell everyone what you have at WagerTalk tonight.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Well, at WagerTalk,
because I have a biggie, and I don't want to come across as hogging the promotion.
At WagerTalk.com, I am involved in the NBA game tonight. You can get that play right now at WagerTalk.com. Also have a pair of Major League Baseball plays up at WagerTalk.com. So you can visit WagerTalk.com and get all those. Listen, for benefit of the show here, I'll first off use what I used on the NBA tip-off show. I think we broke this game down pretty well. So I'm going to go prop-wise with Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder had an absolute horrendous game in Game 1. He shot 0 for 8. You can't shoot 0 for 8 if you try in an open gym if you're Jay Crowder. But he did it. And somehow, some way, he still managed to find himself to a total of 10 rebounds and points combined. He had 1 point. It was a free throw. Had 9 rebounds. So he got to 10 without making a single shot from the field. Tonight, his points and rebounds are 15.5. I mean, this guy's going to make 3 or 4 shots tonight. He should be pretty active on the boards as well. I'm going to take Jay Crowder over 15.5 points plus rebounds. You have to lay 20 cents with that, John. I know there's a 20-cent rule where you're concerned, but I'm going to lay it anyway just because I think Crowder will make it to 16 fairly easily. As far as Major League Baseball is concerned, we just started to hit on it a little bit, but I'm going to say that I do like the Phillies tonight with Zach Eflin. A little bit of Zach Eflin. I watched him pitch Saturday against the Padres. I was in the stadium. He looked pretty good against a really potent lineup. Manny Machado hit a blast off of him, but aside from that, with all the rain delays that there were, Zach Eflin pitched pretty darn well against a really good lineup, and it's 2 good starts in a row for him, as opposed to Alzolay for Chicago, who is now, I think they've lost 4 straight starts for him. ERA's been up. Everything's really been up for him. And I'm not going to buy into play Cubs now that they won 1 game last night. What I will buy into is Chris Bryant left the game last night with a hamstring injury. Javi Baez didn't play in the game last night because of a sprained thumb. And both of those guys are day-to-day. If they show up in the lineup tonight, they're far less than 100%, where I'm concerned. That's 2 key cogs in that lineup. So give me Eflin over Alzolay here in this game. The price is shy. I think Tony mentioned somewhat of a dog. You may have to lay a nickel at this point in time. But to me, that doesn't matter. I'd lay the 5 cents with the Phils. In Zach we trust, and in that lineup, which has really come on lately. And I read an interesting quote from Bryce Harper, who did say that as an offense, they're beginning to come together. I like when the guys that are in the heart of the lineup start to say that. Reese Hoskins, remember yesterday, John, we went through the Reese Hoskins quote where he said it's our job to put pressure on management to go out and get us an extra piece. It's a clubhouse that sees ahead of them, and I think they'll play pretty well here tonight against Chicago. So give me the Phillies with Zach Eflin minus a nickel.
Awesome. Love it. And our anchor, Mr. Tony Finn.
No, I like that pick. I like that play a lot. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give out, first off, I gave out over 121. I gave out a prop, a team prop in the NBA show. I like the setup. I liked it in Game 1. And listen, they scored 118. That game was over 121. I was confident, and I was convinced with 15 minutes to go that I was going to cover that number. No matter what happened to Phoenix, I was going over that 121. I was wrong. They didn't go over. And a lot of that had to do with the separation. I think the Milwaukee plays is a little closer. I don't think they get down by 20 tonight. If they can, I just don't think it happens. It could, don't get me wrong, but if they get down by 20 tonight, then you're going to see a lot of Milwaukee fans turning their TV off and disappearing from this NBA Finals. Now, the 121 paid $350. It was a plus 350 prop in Game 1. It's down to 310 tonight, even though they didn't cover that one day. I think what you're going to see tonight, we've outlined it. Rob outlined it, or what he believes could happen, and I was vocal about what I believe will happen. And I believe that you're going to see pace. I believe that Rob's completely accurate when he says he's heard it. You can see it. You can see it in their posture. Both these teams want to play fast. They don't want to face each other in half-court sets. And Milwaukee certainly is going to have to do something different. And if they gamble incorrectly or they make the wrong adjustments, then it gets even worse for them tonight. It can't get better. It just can't get better unless they do something. They got to shoot better. Holiday's got to shoot better. I like over 121. I like the 310. I like the 3-1 on that. Especially if it fits. You guys are out there in the audience. If you like Phoenix and you're playing them to cover, or yada yada yada, that's a prop that fits right in with what you already like anyway. And you can play a little small 1% of your bankroll on it and get a 3-1 return. Not too bad. It's not outrageous to think the Phoenix is going to score 121 points. It's not outrageous. And then I'm going to throw in one quick one here. I like Kansas City Royals tonight, and Duffy. They brought him back. We talked about Duffy and remember we were talking about Boston and that game. They brought Duffy back to the big boy league to do his stretching back out and rehab work. And you have a pitcher for Cleveland coming off the IL, in Plesac, who is nothing, who has not listen, he's had his 15-minute moments, okay? He can be good. However, he's not. I don't expect him to go about 4 innings, 5. Both of these pitchers are going to go, and while Cleveland's bullpen might be better on paper, the Kansas City offense is better than the Cleveland offense when they're right. With Solar, with Merriweather, with lots of guys, when the young Mondesi listen. If you think Tatis, if you like Tatis and you like the way he plays the game, trust me when I tell you, Mondesi's not as big as Tatis, but Mondesi's bat speed and baseball savvy is outrageously good. So a good young player that I'm excited about seeing. I hope the Royals get better, or he's not going to be. They're not going to know who. A lot of people won't know who Mondesi is. Kansas City as a $1.35 dog tonight. How's that?
That sounds good. That sounds good, Tony. I'm just typing up my my promo here quick.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So here we go. This one's pretty good, actually. And I'll get you back out of there. And then we have this. And then I get to brag because this is fact. And my totals in the NBA.
We lost you, John.
We did. We totally did.
We lost him. Well, see, that's what happens when you start pimping yourself. Lightning. It's amazing. Let's do it for him. John Ryan. These are his hot streaks, everyone. I don't think anybody's. If he's gone, they're probably not even hearing us, are they?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, I guess we could ask somebody. We can ask somebody. Somebody type. I'll put them up in the private in the comments section. Anybody that's in this room, please say yes. We hear you, Tony. I don't see any comments. Period. Do you?
No, but I'm not over there looking for them either. I'd have to get to YouTube and look.
I'm there. I don't see any comments. But then we'll just do this. We'll say for John Ryan and the Predictive Programming MIT Special Private Party Club. That's Rob. I'm Tony. We're gone. Okay. I guess we're gone, Rob. I'm gonna go take care of more Gabe now. He's asking me. He doesn't realize I was doing shows, I think, but I just told him.
Can't be happy the Canadiens lost, right?
He was hoping they would win. I think he was rooting for him. He was sure making fun of the Vegas book, saying, "How can you make Vegas that kind of a favorite over over historic a team as historic as the Abs?" You know, that kind of thing. But that's what he was supposed to do. The shock jock kind of
right.
His MO, you know. So, and plus he got free tickets to go to Montreal and sit like behind the Canadiens bench and such. And when you're getting those kind of perks, you better be bragging and rooting on the Canadiens.
Right, absolutely.
Although I think we knew when it got to be, first off, I thought Colorado was a better team than the Vegas. They didn't play very well, so Vegas got by them. But Vegas was they listen. It is what it is. Vegas should be proud, you know, for an expansion team to be that close to another Stanley Cup with and barely be 4 years old, you know.
Right. There's no question.
Yeah.
No question.
Right. Are you a hockey fan?
You know what, Tony? I don't pay attention to it until the
Yeah.
playoffs, and then I'll watch
Yeah.
playoff hockey. But my knowledge is limited, for sure. But what are you going to do? We can only cover so many things, right? I mean, it's tough enough.
You're right.
To cover.
You're right.
So,
All
right,
and that's
we'll go with
that's what I'm going to do right now. Looks like I got 2 hours before whatever Gabe's got me lined up for. I don't know. He just said, Tony, can you help me at 5:10? And I said, okay, I'll help you. And then of course he's going on and on. I got distracted, but he just said, send me this intel so I can send it to the producer and they can set you up. So now I'm worried about what the hell I've got myself into. So
well, how about
I'll
this?
let you.
I just got a text from Ski.
Uh-huh.
Ski sends me a text that says, I'm on a show and I mentioned John Ryan's angle, and boy, were they firing him up in the chat, laugh out loud. So I don't know if these people were accepting John's angle or not. I'll have to check that out.
John's angle, I didn't even, and I apologize, I should apologize, John. I don't listen to it very closely because why? Because I'm not that kind of I don't play that way, bet that way, or handicap that way at all. Listen, everybody does it differently, but trends, those kind of trends, they have to be relative to the in my world, they have to be relative to the roster that's on the floor. The players that are on the floor. Like I said, you tell me that Atlanta hasn't won a game one playoff series since in last 20 years. Well, yeah, they haven't been in the damn playoffs for until last year. What was it? They hadn't been in the playoffs for 1,000 years, seemingly. And I know this much: the last time they won a game one in a playoff series, Rob, there was not one player on their current roster that was on that team. Not one. So
there you go.
How does that work out? How do you explain that? How do you explain that off in your trend?
Yeah, it's hard. I'm not a big believer in trends. I know they have value, but
I like odds makers trends. Historically, odds makers will always they're creatures of habit too. And if a certain team is a certain point spread favorite, and there's a significant trend that they're not successful in that, it's a lot of times it doesn't have anything to do with the team. It has to do with how the odds makers believe that we perceive that team. So that's going to be fun. We got football coming up, man.
Yeah, I just did another video with Drew yesterday. It's going to be good. I'm knee deep in college football right now, but
I'm working.
There's only somebody texted it out there or tweeted it the other day that there's only 6 Saturdays left till college football. That's crazy.
Well, September isn't it the last Saturday of August, or is it the first? I'd have to look at it, but I looked at the schedule, and let's put it this way: the last Saturday in August is the 28th, so I'm going to assume there's an August 28th game.
Yep.
And the first Saturday in September falls on the 4th, so there you go.
We're closing in on it, pal.
Yeah. What's the NFL? Is it September the 13th or the 12th?
The NFL shows.
Or is it the 5th?
It's the 12th.
Okay, yeah. Usually that's all right.
And
yeah.
the Thursday night game would be the 9th. There you go.
Right. And that game's Tampa. Yeah.
And the Cowboys.
Tampa and the Cowboys. Well, that's a slam dunk. The slam dunk. Okay, buddy. Listen, enjoy the night, and let's win. I don't know what you play. What did you play in the NBA? Have you played anything?
I wound up playing first half over 108, and I played Milwaukee +5. Okay,
then I have nothing. I'm not vested in Phoenix on a handicaps on a side at all. So I'll be rooting for you. I want the over,
right?
And I want the Phoenix score 121 points. So we need to have Milwaukee score at least 100 and let's just say 100. Let's let them score 120. That'd be fine.
There you go. Be nice and easy for us.
All right, buddy.
All right, my friend.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Care.
Okay, man.